Welcome and good morning, everyone. Grace, do we have enough folks online to constitute a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and call roll.
Jimenez,
Present.
Perales,
Here.
Cohen,
Here.
Carrasco, Davis, here. Esparza,
Here.
Readiness,
Here.
Foley,
Here.
Mahan,
Here.
Jones,
Present.
Liccardo.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I know we're going to talk about the city roadmap and backlog prioritization and performance measures today. And we have an entire day set aside for all this discussion. A colleague of mine asked me, is this really going to take the entire day? And as a famous religious teacher stated, we control the keys to our own jail. So, so we will certainly intently listen and hopefully reach rapid resolution depending on how we're able to work through all this. I know this is a lot of material and very complicated, so thank you to everybody in the city manager's team for your hard work in getting us to this point. I should note, I know that one of our leads on this currently is challenged by a broken down car. So he's going to try to get here as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, thank you everybody for jumping in.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. And we are happy to be here to talk about the city roadmap and get us one step closer to having our 2022-23 roadmap and our backlog list. And with that, I will turn it over to Lee Wilcox, Assistant City Manager, to kick us off.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, Mayor and Council, members of the public. Joining me today are our esteemed group of Deputy City Managers, Kip Harkness on Zoom, Angel Rios at some point in time here, Rosalind Huey, and Rob Lloyd, as well as our Director of Civic Innovation, Dolan Beckel, Assistant to the City Manager, Eric Jensen, and our budget team, Jim Shannon and Bonnie Twong, in the box with us. Talking about priorities from the council-approved Mayor's March message and developing our roadmap is what we're here to talk about today. Before I begin, I do want to provide some context and history based off of questions that the council members have asked in the past year. In 2010, as we were grappling with over $100 million of cuts to the organization, then the city attorney's office raised their hand and said, we need a process to prioritize the development of ordinances because of staffing shortages. It was in 2010 and 2011 that the city put together a process for the council to prioritize ordinances that were passed that would be developed by the attorney's office. Over the course of the next several years, this process shifted to also include some policy work by the administration around certain public policy goals facing the city and in the community. It wasn't until 2017 that we formalized that policy work and policy projects were included in this process, and it became known as council priority setting. And it also was during this time that we aligned it with the budget process to occur during the same time, so that any resources that were needed as a part of council policy priority setting process could be adopted as part of the budget. So typically, actions had been taken annually through the budget process around larger projects, larger strategies. And so as we move in this direction today, we've taken the Mayor's March message and put together a suggested roadmap that we'll walk you through. It's because of the struggles in 2020, as the organization was struggling to meet core services that our community expected and depend on, as well as the pandemic services that we have highlighted in the past, that there wasn't a need, or that the administration finally had the need to further merge council priority setting into something new that included not only public policy, but also projects, strategies, and as well as policy. So today, the purpose of the roadmap is to focus the city on our most vital change initiatives and important service transformation. And this process continues to evolve and brought into alignment with the existing organizational structures and processes. So today we will go over our proposed recommended 22-23 city roadmap and the initiatives. We will address the backlog and prioritize it, and then start to review the outcome and performance measure status and review next steps with you. And again, this is a summary agenda. We can move more quickly if the mayor and council so wish. Our process for creating the 2022-23 city roadmap was in an informational memorandum issued to you in March of this year. This process started with the council direction and council approval of the mayor's March budget message and the priorities notated in that document. In April, the administration spent considerable amount of time with department heads to create the administration's draft city roadmap, including the backlog. Today, we are on our third step with this study session to recommend approval of a city roadmap, refine and prioritize the backlog, and review the status of outcome and performance measures, including our work with the Harvard community partners. Finally, we will take input today and apply it to a final city roadmap and include that in a manager's budget addendum that will be approved along with the budget this year. Sorry. Some of our observations that we'll go into today for the mayor and council to take into consideration is we've done a thorough and inclusive process to better understand the council's needs this past year, as well as the community's needs from a variety of sources, including the mayor's March message, community survey, and other council deliberation. The recommended roadmap does represent our maximum capacity in our current resource environment. And given this, our recommendation today is that you approve the administration's draft city roadmap. I do want to start out with what the roadmap is and what it isn't. As I suggested before, it focuses the city on our most vital change initiatives and service transformations. Consistent with all processes that we've come to use in the city around adaptive change and transformational change, this includes initiatives going through a process of preparing the organizational for change, crafting a vision and plan for change, setting goals, measures, and teams around these initiatives, implementing the changes, embedding them within the organization, and then reviewing the process and analyzing our results continuously. Our current roadmap is not all that different from the various initiatives and the process that they go through. As we build upon last year's growth and evolution in the roadmap, we look at continuous process and improvement where we analyze this process, improve the process, redefine it, and measure its success. So what the roadmap is, it's an evolution. It's critical to focus our council and our administration to meet resident needs. It is not perfect. It also is not the only thing that the organization and the administration and council will be dealing with during this year. And it is not the final product or structure of something, but an iteration that will continue to evolve as we learn on this journey together. In terms of organizational learning, this past year of implementing the city roadmap has shown us several challenges, but successes. Some of the challenges that we have learned from is the continued response to the pandemic and adapting the surges, pivoting leadership and staffing. Oddly enough, when the council approved the roadmap this past year, the Delta variant, the Omicron variant, were yet to be detected. We had demobilized the Emergency Operations Center only to reactivate it 37 days later as the Delta variant emerged in our community. Another lesson learned as we scoped that around our capacity was significant vacancy rate and under a very challenging labor market that not only challenged us and our own capacity, but the constraints of our partner networks that we've come on to rely on as we deliver services. And then leadership capacity strengths within the city. The recommended draft roadmap does have initiatives that are in response to some of these challenges, particularly through our Powered by People enterprise priority. Some of the successes for this past year we are celebrating is that we've graduated 14 initiatives and have completed or integrated these initiatives into our core services or combine them with new initiatives that you'll see later today. And you can see that on the slide. As we celebrate the continued learning and refinement of the roadmap, helping the organization be more focused, transparent, measured is our goal in the coming year. Continuing on what the roadmap is distinct from the day-to-day service delivery and is about what we are changing about how we work. Priorities on the roadmap are either completely new, such as wide-scale food distribution, or scaling dramatically, such as our sheltering program during the pandemic, or non-routine, complex, multi-departmental work that requires considerable citywide effort to drive things forward, such as the Google development, or they require important cross-agency collaboration with other partners, such as homelessness or our Child and Youth Services initiative. City services continue on at a massive scale underneath these change-oriented work on the roadmap, and most city employees and dollars invested in and engaged with the important work of day-to-day service delivery that our residents have come to expect and depend on. This work is not completely static, however, especially in a time where we know where new safety measures have to be built into every service we deliver, and ongoing continuous improvement work and a host of departmental initiatives and priorities focused on service improvements continue. But these do not rise to the level of being on the roadmap due to their either relatively low level of collaboration across the organization or where a typical single department nature can change this work. Change initiatives on the roadmap and core service delivery are two parts of the same complex picture of the city organization. Core services are doing day-to-day service delivery to the community, whereas the roadmap is where we are working on changing to better meet community needs and expectations. To deliver both, we draw upon the same pool of capacity, the same group of leaders. So as we work through the roadmap together today, we should keep in mind that adding to the initiatives on the roadmap could impact capacity to deliver core city services and vice versa. For today, we are focusing on first establishing the priority change initiatives in the form of a roadmap, and then later through the budget process to fully understand the trade-offs between adequately resourcing these desired changes and the ongoing hard work of delivering our existing services well to our residents. Before we engage on the rest of the roadmap over the next few years, I do want to touch upon two important things. One, how we are approaching our objectives, outcomes, and performance measures while embedding equity into all the work that we are doing, and the evolution of the roadmap priorities. San Jose has long been a model in the public administration world for how we budget, how we invest, and how we put together our budget. Starting with our performance-based budgeting, investing in results from over a decade ago, to transitioning to a program-based budgeting where we can measure programs more effectively. Continuing on this work to improve ourselves, in 2019, the city began an internal process of looking broader and to modernize our approach to measuring our objectives, our performance, and our outcomes in the budget. This effort was put on hold in February of 2020 as the administration shifted focus on the then emerging pandemic. Today, you will see in the proposed administrative draft roadmap that we are recommending prioritizing this work, where we can align the roadmap and CSA outcomes and performance activities across the entire organization. In addition, this effort will include the integration of equitable community outcomes and indicators as we continue to operationalize this work into how we work. Bottom line, as we move forward, San Jose wants to improve on our already stellar process of our budget work and continuing to improve the way we measure and hold ourselves accountable. With that, I am handing it off to Eric Jensen.
Good morning, Mayor, Council, members of the public. My name is Eric Jensen, Assistant to the City Manager. As part of building the next year's city roadmap, staff examined a variety of sources that contain the types of initiatives that belong on the city roadmap. The sources we analyzed are shown here, which include the current city roadmap for initiatives that are still in progress, council direction from the March budget message, last year's council priority backlog, council direction on a few recommendations to be part of the roadmap exercise from the Charter Review Commission and the Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee, including ad hoc subcommittees, specifically the Youth Council, and those recommendations focused on amending the city charter. They also include yellow lit referrals from the Rules and Open Government Committee. And finally, we look to departments in the city for recommended priorities. In this analysis, we refined and clarified the existing enterprise priorities by emphasizing a clear alignment within the community opinion survey, the 6 priorities of Council's March budget message, and the existing enterprise priorities. To highlight this, we refined the enterprise priorities here on the right, which underpin the city roadmap. That refinement preserves ending homelessness as a clear priority area. It breaks out public safety from safe, vibrant, and inclusive neighborhoods and public life into a new, distinct enterprise priority titled Safer San Jose. It emphasizes our efforts to battle blight by renaming our Clean, Vibrant, and Inclusive Neighborhoods and Public Life enterprise priority. It combines 21st century infrastructure and emergency management and preparedness into a single enterprise priority focused on resilient and sustainable city infrastructure and emergency management. It preserves the COVID-19 community and economic recovery enterprise priority. It continues the building of the San Jose of tomorrow with a downtown for everyone, part of which includes our work in affordable housing. And finally, it continues our 2 foundational enterprise priorities, strategic fiscal positioning and resource deployment, and powered by people. These citywide priorities serve as our basis for organizational alignment, prioritization, and are the lens through which we focus the city. Descriptions of these enterprise priorities will be provided in a final city roadmap manager's budget addenda, which we will be issuing on May 23rd. With that, I'm excited to share the first view of the city roadmap to guide the organization in this next year. Describing the roadmap structure, at the top, the title is Administration Draft 2022-2023 City Roadmap Recommended for Approval. On the left, it shows 8 gray boxes, which are our enterprise priorities. The top 6 are community-driven, and the 2 on bottom are foundational. Towards the right, we have 42 purple boxes, which are the initiatives driving each enterprise priority forward. From left to right, these initiatives are divided across those that are programs and projects, those that are strategies, and those that are policies. Based on a thorough analysis by staff and in alignment with community and council priorities, these 42 initiatives are recommended for adoption as the next year's city roadmap. And so we'll spend the rest of the study session today discussing what these initiatives are in terms of scope, what must go onto the backlog, and our iterative approach to measuring this roadmap. So to start, our city roadmap executive sponsors will walk through each initiative on their enterprise priorities and share the purpose and scope of each initiative intended over the next year. So to do that, I will now turn it over to Rosalind and Rob to start with community and economic recovery.
Great, thank you, Eric. Rosalind Huey, Deputy City Manager, and I do share this enterprise priority with Rob Lloyd. Community and economic recovery is all about equity and lifting up those most impacted by COVID-19. There are 4 recommended initiatives for this enterprise priority, and these include housing stabilization, reemployment and workforce development, small business recovery and resilience, and the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force. For housing stabilization, staff will be focusing on eviction prevention through an eviction diversion strategy, tenant rights, and legal aid, as well as outreach and education. For reemployment and workforce development, staff is focusing on delivering work to future programming as well as the Resilience Core. And for small business recovery and resilience, staff will continue to focus on eviction assistance to assist small businesses, deliver grant programs, and conduct business walks. Also, we're very excited that the Council Gardens Mixed-Use Development Project will open this summer and will include office space for the Latino Business Foundation and Excite Credit Union. This allows for technical assistance, free technical assistance, and loans and financial services for businesses all under one roof. The COVID-19 Recovery Task Force project process is well underway and is actually at the halfway point. And the task force will continue to work through November. 9 committees have been established and a community engagement plan has been developed, which includes a community survey, a storytelling project, an engagement toolkit for committees to use, and a lived experience group who will design and conduct engagement activities. These activities will start next month, along with hiring promotores through community-based organizations who will reach our residents and businesses, gather their input, and connect them with existing city services and resources. After gathering the community input, the task force will develop recommendations and a final report, which will be submitted to City Council. The fiscal year 22-23 proposed budget includes $2 million to support task force recommendations. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kip Harkness to go through the next enterprise priority.
Thank you, Rosalind. Good morning. Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager. I have the Resilient and Sustainable City Infrastructure and Emergency Management Enterprise Priority. A great city has great infrastructure, that often invisible network of pipes, roads, wires, facilities, and spaces that connect us and enable the daily utilities that make modern life possible. Every day, this infrastructure quietly brings us water, electricity, broadband, and takes away our sewage, garbage, and recycling. Today, our city's infrastructure faces 4 simultaneous challenges. 1, we must rehabilitate our existing aging infrastructure to ensure we can continue to provide the backbone of day-to-day public services our community relies on. 2, we must grow our infrastructure to accommodate more people as we welcome an additional 400,000 to San Jose over the coming years. 3, we must become more sustainable, as the already variable California climate is being made more erratic by climate change, bringing with it deeper droughts and necessitating a shift away from fossil fuels and toward renewables. Finally, we must become more resilient and recognize that earthquakes and natural disasters are inevitable and often increasingly likely because of climate change already underway. As a council, you have made significant investments in developing infrastructure suited for our future, from our massive rebuild of the regional wastewater facility to the launching of our innovative community energy department. But you have asked us to do more. Meeting these challenges requires a fundamental shift from an extractive consumption to circular reuse, with resilience and sustainability built in, and even going beyond sustainability to actively restoring the environment, natural resources, and productive capacity on which we depend. We believe a regenerative approach to city infrastructure is required to meet both the needs of our people, equity, and live within the capacity of the planet, environment. In response to these challenges and following the direction provided in the March budget message, the City Manager's Office will lead the organization's resilience efforts to transform the city's infrastructure, with a focus on 5 objectives laid out here in the roadmap that have the most potential for big, bold, and meaningful change. Number 1 is being disaster ready and climate smart. This has 4 components. We continue the work we've been on, the journey we've been on since 2017 to prepare San Jose for the next disaster. And while we effectively faced the challenge of the pandemic, we must revitalize and renew our capacity in the Emergency Operations Center team, refresh our plans, and prepare our community through CERT and other programs for what we know is the inevitable next disaster. We need to continue our work on climate smart, which focuses on decarbonizing without degrading quality of life. We need to begin to understand and address sea level rise, seeking to understand the issues and the impacts, in particular for Alviso and the North San Jose area. And I'll pull in the one that's sort of in the policy realm. We need to complete the soft story earthquake retrofit policy. We have approximately 1,100 buildings, many of which are home to some of our most vulnerable residents, which are unsafe in the potential of a large earthquake. And we need to get those retrofitted and those people safe. Our second objective is infrastructure resilience. That includes completing the Measure T projects that we have underway, the build out of the Emergency Operations Center, our fire stations, repaving of our roads, et cetera. It also includes figuring out ways to address our very significant infrastructure backlog. We estimate we have at least $1.7 billion of deferred maintenance on our existing buildings, facilities, and infrastructure that needs to be addressed. That will require new state and federal funding, going after that aggressively and comprehensively, and influencing policy to better invest here in San Jose. Finally, we must continue to build our cybersecurity capacity and integrate it more fully into our emergency management response and our work with infrastructure to make sure this does not become a point of vulnerability. Our third objective is around clean energy resilience, which includes continuing our work with community energy, but specifically expanding our work with microgrids to make sure that key public facilities have an energy source that is not dependent on the grid in time of failure. Continue our work with downtown large project electrification. Continue work with building electrification for commercial development, shifting to a more electric future, and building out our electric vehicle infrastructure, both for our own city fleet, which is shifting over to electric, and for the community with an emphasis on equity, making sure that electric vehicles are for people who need them the most, not just those who can afford them. Our fourth priority is around water resilience. This includes continuing the build out of our regional wastewater facility, seeking new water supply with a focus on reuse of that wastewater to close the circle on water and create a drought-proof San Jose. We also need a new approach to our sewers, both sanitary and storm, to ensure their continued effective operations, maintenance, and expansion throughout the years. And we need to have a more innovative and comprehensive approach to green infrastructure and stormwater infrastructure, taking a more holistic view toward how to water from rainfall all the way down into the bay. Our fifth priority is actually to begin to restore some of the natural environment that has been degraded by our urbanization, and this in two particular ways. One, an emphasis on our community forest, our urban canopy of trees, important for creating cool spaces, beautiful spaces, and places and neighborhoods that we want to live in, and our work around Coyote Valley open space to make sure that we can preserve that area in a way that respects the rights of our citizens and the property owners there. These 5 objectives and supporting 18 initiatives and policies make up the newly reconstituted and merged city enterprise priority of resilient and sustainable city infrastructure and emergency management. Over the next few months, we will be hiring a small team, setting key results to drive implementation and measure impact, putting together a work plan, and beginning this important work. At this point, I will be handing it off, and I'm not sure who I'm handing it off to. Eric, if you can help me.
I think that comes back to me. Thank you so
Okay,
much, Kip.
back to you, Rosalind.
Thank you. The next enterprise priority we'll walk you through is ending homelessness. And there are 5 recommended initiatives for this enterprise priority. They include emergency housing system expansion, encampment services, outreach, assistance, and resources, encampment management and safe relocation, emergency housing financial sustainability, and safety net services with coordination with the county. With council direction, staff is currently analyzing sites for new quick-build emergency interim housing projects and will be bringing a recommendation to council next month. We are also looking at sites for safe parking. This initiative also includes Project Home Key, and we are very excited with the recent announcement from the state with awards for the Arena Hotel and the Branham Monterey site. Staff is also looking to expand encampment services, outreach, assistance, and resources. For encampment management and safe relocation, staff is identifying sites and which includes identifying setbacks for sensitive zones and providing services to support quality of life. For the Emergency Housing Financial Sustainability Initiative, the Housing Department, with the support from the Mayor's Office, has been awarded a grant from the San Francisco Foundation to look at reducing the operation and maintenance costs to support emergency interim housing projects. This will be important for the sustainability of these efforts. And finally, the Safety Net Services County Coordination Initiative is a strategy to better understand and coordinate with the county on a variety of safety net services, from behavioral and mental health services to the foster care system, so that we can better integrate and align our efforts with the county. And now I'm going to hand over the presentation to Lee Wilcox to walk us through the Safer San Jose Initiative.
Thank you, Rosalind. So I share the new Safer San Jose enterprise priority with my friend Angel Rios right here. There are currently 3 recommended initiatives as part of Safer San Jose, which is police reforms, Division 0 traffic safety, as well as the development of a new continuity of operations plan for our city services known as a COOP. For police reforms, this includes the analysis, prioritization, and recommendations of over 454 recommendations and examining what we think we have the capacity to implement and bring this analysis to the Public Safety Finance and Strategic Support Committee in the fall. It also includes the police reforms work plan items that have already been approved by the mayor and council, which are currently being implemented. It includes recommendations from the 21st Century Policing Report, Use of Force Report, Internal After Action Report, as well as Independent After Action Report, the Reimagining recommendations approved or accepted by the Mayor and Council last week, as well as all outstanding recommendations by the IPA City and City Attorney. Second, the Vision 0 traffic safety. This includes quick build projects in priority corridors, education and outreach activities on behavioral change and traffic safety, as well as messaging and signs around major roadways. And then lastly, the continuity of operations plan is our own internal effort of the city to ensure our capability exists to continue essential city services in response to a comprehensive array of potential emergencies or disasters like an earthquake or major event. While during the pandemic, we had roughly 6 to 8 weeks to plan. As we saw it evolve across the globe, we were able to develop and had time to plan a very specific continuity of operations plan for the pandemic. What we do need is something much more comprehensive and broad to meet a major immediate disaster, such as an earthquake. And this internal process will lead us to do that. I'd like to hand it over to Rob Lloyd now for the next enterprise priority.
Good afternoon, City Council. Rob Lloyd, pulling my best Angel impression. There are 5 recommended initiatives for the Clean, Vibrant, and Inclusive Neighborhoods and Public Life Enterprise Priority. These include Children and Youth Services Master Plan, Education, Digital Equity, and Digital Literacy, Beautify SJ Encampments, Trash Services, Beautify SJ Vehicle Blight, and the Child Care Siting Policy Update. These are coordinated efforts and that build the quality of life in San Jose. Specifically on Child and Youth Services Master Plan, PRNS and Library are managing the proposed $10.5 million of ARPA allocation for children and youth programming, removing barriers for participation in public recreation offerings by increasing subsidized scholarships to 100% for qualifying families and implementing all programming from City Council approved ARP spending plans. They are also providing increased youth services and equity priority communities continuing supporting working families by providing childcare offerings through San Jose Preschool, Rock, and after school and summer and holiday camps, as well as aquatics programs and expanding leisure class offerings. Under education, digital equity, and digital literacy, there are a large number of efforts. We have student and family academic support. SJ Learns special funding opportunities will be made available to partner schools in the summer of this year. SJ Learns tutoring programs will issue a request for proposals process to identify tutoring partners in anticipation of expansion in fall of this year. And the California for All Youth Workforce Program, Learning Loss Mitigation Pathway, Resilience Core Education Expansion Increase Program for summer 2022 and summer 2023, with 129 associates hosting seven partner organizations. Next, we have digital literacy and digital equity, under which we have the Digital Inclusion Fund program assessment and round 4 funding, continuing the availability of hotspots and devices through the library and the working partners, completing build out of the community Wi-Fi in partnership with Eastside Union High School District, and community Wi-Fi evaluation and recommendations. Last under this this initiative is the College and Career Readiness, which is the hiring and career pathways coordinator and initiating citywide implementation of CCR logic model. Under Beautify SJ Encampment Trash Services, the project, we have launching the Encampment Management Collaborative, implementing the new encampment intake and resolution communication system, completing the Guadalupe Gardens Spring and Heading Encampment Project, evaluating the use of physical deterrence as a tool for priority locations, and developing a bio-waste service proposal for lived-in vehicles. Second to last, we have Beautify SJ Vehicle Blight, and that is addressing vehicle blight complaints as we rethink how we recognize and best address varying issues. That includes abandoned vehicles, but also vehicle hazards, people living in cars, and more. And last, we have the Child Care Siting Policy Update, which is the city facility improvements in PRNS to select priority sites for classroom upgrades, and then Child Care Tenant Improvements Fund, which focuses on offsetting the cost of construction of dedicated child care space in affordable housing developments, especially in Priority 1, which are the highest need zip codes. With that, we also have the funding award recommendations that will come to council as part of the affordable housing process, and anticipating at least 2 developments to be considered in 2022-2023. With that one, I will hand it off to myself for the next, enterprise priority. There are 9 recommended initiatives for the enterprise priority for building the San Jose of tomorrow with downtown for everyone. And this is a shared initiative between Rosalind and I. The power of these efforts and the teams and partners who champion them is the vision of a connected, economically vibrant, and equitable community, the one we aspire to create. There are specific initiatives which include aligning zoning with the general plan, and that's the rezoning of 11,000 parcels throughout the city. Staff is bringing the rezonings to council in batches based on geography or topic, with the goal of completing by the end of 2022. Development services transformation is winding down on the technology part of development services transformation over this year, bringing a focus on continued process improvement and outcomes. For the Google Downtown West development, staff will be bringing the ordinance to council, which will establish the Community Advisory Committee for the Community Stabilization and Opportunity Pathways Fund. Staff will be undertaking initial conformance reviews with horizontal construction, or for horizontal construction. Next, we have Bart Silicon Valley Extension. This is the extension from Berryessa North San Jose, Bart into East and Downtown San Jose, as well as the Downtown Transportation Plan for upcoming growth and investments into downtown, including initial contract awards. On the airport connector in Diridon Station, the city is working with VTA and MTC to advance city funding necessary to initiate work for the airport connector and the city's acquisition of property relevant to the Diridon Station build-out, subject to procurement and future council approvals. On North San Jose, this is the city's policy work to enable housing, transportation access, and job growth in the North San Jose area. At tomorrow's council meeting, Staff will be presenting the general plan and other policy amendments for council action. High-speed rail, this is Central Valley to Silicon Valley and is the next major leg of the California high-speed rail system that will be constructed when funding is available. The final environmental impact report for San Jose has been completed in the past year. Second to last, we have wage theft prevention policy and responsible contract ordinance. And this is the policy and compliance work impactful to San Jose workers. Last, we have affordable housing on assembly use sites policy, also known as YIGB. Staff will complete the policy work, including environmental analysis that will enable any site containing assembly uses with a public, quasi-public general plan land designation to develop 100% deed-restricted affordable housing as a secondary use in conjunction with the primary assembly use of the property. And with that, back to Lee.
Thank you, Rob. Along with Jim Shannon, I share the strategic fiscal positioning and resource deployment enterprise priority for the city. The recommended roadmap includes 5 recommended initiatives for this enterprise priority, including our emergency and fiscal recovery and planning, outcomes, equity indicators and performance management, the disparity study, advancing equity through culture and practice, and procurement improvements. For our emergency fiscal recovery and planning, this work consists of our financial recovery efforts related to the pandemic, including all of the emergency operation and other departmental, federal, and state funding uses and reporting, ensuring that we have no clawbacks on the funding and that we continue to maximize reimbursements where possible. For our outcomes, equity indicator, and performance management, I spoke to this earlier. This work consists of aligning our city roadmap and city service area measures, refreshing our CSA and departmental measures, working with the Office of Racial Equity on community outcomes and equity indicators leading to those outcomes, and identifying data for disaggregation and creating dashboards for our managers, our city leadership, and for the mayor and council. Next, the Disparity Study will identify barriers that our local minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses faced in our procurement processes within the city of San Jose. And our Advancing Equity Through Culture and Practice is our internal process and consists of rolling out our equity strategy through departmental trainings on racial equity, budgeting for equity, and other strategies necessary for us to continue operationalizing this work across the organization. And lastly is our procurement process, which consists of our work with Guidehouse to create a multi-year transformational plan on our procurement processes throughout the city. And last but not least is our Powered by People initiative. None of this work can get done without the people in our organization, and I have the pleasure of sharing this enterprise priority with Jennifer Shembry. And this year, the roadmap includes 5 recommended initiatives for the Power by People enterprise priority, including our workforce diversity and talent pipeline, our citywide hiring, our employee retention and well-being and growth, our digital workforce, and lastly, our customer service vision and standards. Our workforce diversity and talent pipeline consists of changes to our minimal qualifications to increase diverse applicant pool and provide an equitable path for professional development in the organization, changes to classification and compensation functions, and creating pipeline programs with local universities, job fairs, fellowships, and service opportunities for recruitments. On citywide hiring, this continues the agile process that we've been communicating to you for the past several months to prioritize vacancies and increase data sharing between departments and our human resources department, bringing greater focus on hiring and lastly, launching a new RFP for the new application system to improve the application experience for those applying to the city. For our existing employees, under employee health growth, or our employee well-being growth and retention, we're going to continue our work with departments on our trauma-informed and resilience-oriented care programs, redesigning the employee assistance program, working with employee health services, unifying the city's safety policies and programs throughout the city, and continuing our learning and development opportunities to engage, grow, and retain our very talented workforce. On digital workforce, we'll continue focusing on our business process automation work to build more efficient and effective digital workflows throughout the organization. We'll be launching a new RFP and beginning implementation of a one city workforce to create a more modern intranet system to connect employees, people, processes, and information throughout the organization. And last but not least, we'll be launching the customer service vision and standards in the next year and bringing on a consultant to do discovery work and create a vision and set of standards for how we deliver customer service to our residents, businesses, partners. And this will include creating a multi-year transformational plan to implement the recommendations over time, including quick wins within this year. And with that, that is the draft roadmap, and I'll hand it off to Dolan Beckel.
Thanks, Lee. Dolan Beckel, Director of the Office of Civic Innovation, here to conclude the first section of our presentation. Once again, these 42 initiatives that you see here in front of you are really the heavy lifts. They represent the maximum amount of work the administration can accomplish within our current estimate of available capacity next year. We believe we've been thorough and thoughtful to align these enterprise priorities and initiatives with the community survey and the 6 priorities set forth by the council in the March budget message. The city roadmap and the associated processes will bring focus and alignment to this complex work to maximize our impact to the community. We recommend that the council approves the draft 22-23 roadmap presented here. Later in the study session, we'll have the opportunity to prioritize the backlog. The backlog is the pipeline of priority change initiatives and service transformations that are next in line to be worked if the administration finds the capacity to take on additional work beyond the roadmap. This concludes our discussion on the draft roadmap and initiatives. We believe this is an appropriate time to take public comment, and then staff. In fact, it looks like all senior staff and initiatives are in the audience here to take questions and feedback from council. We appreciate everyone being here for hopefully half a day, and we'll turn it back to council. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the presentation. Let's go to public comment.
Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Boy, that was quite an impressive reading this morning. Thank you from everyone. You have very nicely noted the need of natural disaster preparedness. I was very surprised. Thank you that you've done this. I've learned, hopefully, the language that even as we're offering these preparedness practices, they are what every city should offer its community in how we prepare for our future. I don't know how exact these things may be happening soon, but to be prepared for these things, to make the steps and talk about it openly, that's key. That's building community. That's building community safety. So thank you very much, not just with earthquake issues, but say with water preparedness issues. With this work, an important reminder that a majority of this work is the concepts, I feel, of health and human services ideas. These aren't ideas that have, there's possibly a few logistical ideas that may be needed by the police department, but on the whole, this doesn't have to be a large law enforcement exercise. This is an exercise of health and human services, of community healing, of CERT training, emergency preparedness, not law enforcement preparedness. And that's an important distinction we have to make with this sort of work. Overall, thank you. Just an important reminder of open and accountable practices, and really helps organize and define ourselves, and can help define the questions we need to ask at this time. Overall, thank you for this work, and good luck how we can talk about these sort of issues openly in the coming year so we can feel safe and assured of ourselves. That brings better practices. Thank you.
Luis Auerhahn.
Hello, good morning, Mayor and Council. Louise Auerhahn with Working Partnerships, and I appreciate this report and want to thank the city for putting the responsible construction ordinance and wage theft policy back on their roadmap, and urge you to move forward with them quickly. As you know, we have been waiting on these for quite a long time. City Council prioritized them. I believe it was back in 2018. And in all that time, wage theft in San Jose, and especially in the local construction industry, has continued to grow and become an alarmingly widespread crime. And it's a crime that is directed especially against vulnerable Latino and Asian workers. Wage theft targeting workers of color and immigrants contributes to being a major source of pay inequity. Latino construction workers in San Jose bring home 38% less pay than white construction workers, and some part of that is due to wage theft. This responsible construction ordinance will put another tool in the city's toolbox and will further empower workers to be able to collect on wages that are owed them. It gives you a tool to hold bad actors accountable when they've broken the law and when the state has found that they do in fact owe back wages to their workers. So I want to thank you again for adding this item back in, long overdue, and also thanks for the renewed focus on supporting the city workforce, which is also essential to support all of those people who've worked so hard to hold our city together through this time and who will be essential. And we need to retain and recruit and fill and keep those vacancies in order to provide all those services that our city needs. Thank you.
Palo Alto Data Group.
Thank you, honorable council members and mayor. My name is Dr. Forrest Peterson, and I've been doing research on the wage theft, including San Jose City Public Works. And I have seen that everything that Luis Arjan has said, I think I can't repeat any more eloquently, is all consistent with what is in the data set. It's been an issue. You know, the city council provided Stanford's Center for Integrated Facility Engineering at Stanford University a commendation for the work that they did in support of putting this on the roadmap back in 2018. So my comment here is simply that I support adding the responsible construction ordinance and the wage theft prevention policy onto the proposed roadmap. Thank you.
Sangeeta.
Hi, my name is Sangeeta and I'm an organizer with Save the Bay. I just wanted to say we're very grateful to the city for prioritizing green stormwater infrastructure as a climate resilience measure in the upcoming budget process. As San Jose starts to see the impacts of climate change, green infrastructure is going to be critical to building resilience to flooding, urban heat, and other climate impacts. We also want the city to prioritize equity when implementing green stormwater infrastructure. We know that historically marginalized communities are disproportionately impacted by climate change, and to combat environmental racism, urban greening needs to center the communities of color, low-income residents, and other marginalized groups. Again, I just wanted to reiterate our gratitude to the city for including green stormwater infrastructure as a priority for the upcoming fiscal year. Thank you.
Elena.
Hello, council members. Thank you for the report. I did notice, I wanted to point out the one thing that was missing was the community engagement and some civic participation education. I know that there were recommendations from the Charter Review Commission, and I didn't see that on there. And I believe that that is a part of equity and accountability to the community. And I would also like to point out that one of the main priorities on this roadmap that had the most recommendations was the police reforms, which had one of the most robust community engagement that we've ever had in our city. So I think there is a lot of energy and there is a lot of will from the people who want to participate in this process. And I think forsaking that is forsaking the collective intelligence that the community has and the lived experience that we have in facing some of these previous decisions that were made by the city. And so I think that there should be a focus on community engagement, and especially from the Charter Review Commission and as well as the Reimagining Public Safety Commission and all boards and commissions. Our boards and commissions right now have a high vacancy of 40 to 60 seats that are empty every year. And these are seats where people can come in. It's the one place that we have to work with city staff and our legislative people that we've elected to co-create policies and solutions and ideas. And without investment, people obviously are not participating in it. It's not very accessible. And I think community engagement will help people follow along and show up at the right place in the right time with the right information so they can participate meaningfully with intention and, the best use of everybody's time. But without investment and priority on that, we're not going to have that. And the solutions that you keep coming up with are not going to meet the most vulnerable and marginalized communities.
Back to the council.
Thank you. All right, let's return to the council for questions and comments. I'm not seeing any of my hands from my colleagues here, and so we'll go online. I'm not seeing anyone with their hands up, so I'm going to blurt out oh, there we go. Councilmember Brawls.
Yeah, no questions. Actually, I'll just offer some appreciation as well. I think this has been quite a process. Since I joined the council, the priority setting, as Lee described, has iterated, and obviously it started back in 2010. And I think the most important thing is just the recognition that we can't do everything we want to do. And we would love to. We'd love to have the money, we'd love to have the personnel, and we'd love to be able to tackle all these very important things. But we have to prioritize it. And I think initially that confusion as we were starting out, at least when I took office, on what goes into priority setting. Is it just the policy work, right, as Lee was describing that iteration? So I like where we've gotten, because it's much more comprehensive. It's all inclusive, because we recognize it's not just work in the city attorney's office or policy work on particular departments. Anything and everything that we are working on is going to take effort and energy, personnel, money, and it's going to be cross-departmental, different service areas. And so I think what we have now is much more comprehensive, and it's a better understanding, and it helps us to be able to tackle the emergencies that come forward, like with the pandemic. And that's when we've really gotten down to this level of specificity. And so it took that emergency for us to, I think, do a better job at honing in all of our efforts, understanding everything we're trying to do, and then making the tough decision of saying, what are we going to have to put on the back burner? And so I know we'll talk a little bit about that again later today, as we look at what things sort of are going to be next in line, if you will. But I think what we've set up here for a roadmap for the coming year is spot on, and I think that the work that we have waiting in line, I look forward to that discussion as well. But I just want to say thank you to city staff for this effort. And I don't know if are we offering a recommendation for this? I believe we are, right, Mayor?
I think they're looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of the roadmap recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. I didn't hear who this second was. Hopefully Grace got that.
Maya
Councilmember
Esparza.
Readiness.
Great.
It was Maya Esparza.
Councilmember Esparza. Thank you, Councilmember. All right, Councilmember Mahan.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you to staff for all the great work that's gone into this. I appreciate what has been clearly months of thought and deliberation. And I'm excited about many of the projects on the roadmap. At this level of detail, at least, they make a lot of sense. And I appreciate that, much like the mayor's budget message, they reflect what I'm hearing out in the community as top priorities. I think the emphasis on homelessness, safety, blight, affordability. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we hear our residents talking about, asking about every single day. And so I do really appreciate that alignment. And I'll be supporting the motion. I do have a couple of reflections or pieces of feedback maybe for the future, just as I'm digesting this and thinking about it, and curious if Lee or others have any responses. And so the two main things are this. Number one, I find the division between core city services and change initiatives a little bit fraught. I worry that it maybe more reflects the structure of the city more than what it takes to solve problems. I worry that the core city services are, the service delivery within a department versus a change initiative that we're trying to drive through the city manager's office. And sometimes the way we solve problems reflects how we're organized more than what it actually takes to deliver the outcome. And I guess the reason I bring that up is that I actually think many of the places where we need the most change and emphasis and iteration are actually in the core services themselves. And so we could, as a hypothetical, decide, and I'm throwing this out there, I'm not arguing this should be our top priority, but we could just say the response time to priority 1 calls from the police department and customer satisfaction with those calls is our #1 priority. That lives within one department. It's very much a core service. Does it need to be cross-functional? Does it, would that qualify as a change initiative? I worry that that division may unintentionally push us to look at the new, exciting, different things versus doubling down on refining and making more effective the core services that touch the most residents every day. And so can you just talk about how you think, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, how you think about that distinction, and am I wrong to be worried about that potentially taking our focus off of the importance of iterating on and optimizing existing services that live within departments?
Yeah, I'll start and ask Dolan to jump in after I'm done. I think you bring up a great point. And I think, specifically, I think you're kind of referring to slide 6 as well.
Yes.
I think part of that for us too is, as this process has evolved, is thinking, what goes on a roadmap is changes needed. And so with your example there, priority 1 calls within the police department, it might not be an effort that's across the entire organization. However, we decided to just focus on that. Right now, we probably do have 2 paths. It's, obviously very specific to the police department, but it's also, there's going to be a need and attention and management and constant focus on it this year, that's something that the city manager's office plays a big hand in helping departments with as well. And so it could be something that's in core services. Like I said, there is a lot of stuff that is very, very important to the organization and to our residents in that core services bucket. But could also, go on a roadmap as well if we did want to bring in others or focus and leadership from the city manager's office. So I think that's something that we'll continue to refine this year. But again, I think the most important thing in slide 6 is what we're trying to get across is that ability for us to say focus and add capacity on the roadmap stuff could take time and attention away from core services. And some of those core services aren't just what residents expect, but they also depend on. And so those 2 things aren't mutually exclusive. They're very much linked. But appreciate the question, and what we're trying to get through this year is better understanding where time and attention is needed within core services, how we carve out time to focus on those things as well. And that could be through where we're looking at the outcomes and measurements, because there's a lot of very smart people in capacity within the departments and within core services where we're continually looking at that process improvements. It doesn't necessarily need to be on a roadmap for us to improve on something. That's part of what we expect departments to do in core services every single day.
Right.
And if I could just add, so I appreciate the response, Lee. So just to put a little finer point on it, we expect all departments and all their core services and programs to have that continuous improvement spirit, and that's why we measure down at the core service level, so we can keep ourselves accountable to that. Obviously, factors like funding affects how well we can like improve response times, how many cops we have, and how other things that go into that. But if you, on this particular roadmap, to where we do have like the crossover of core service focus, it would be like, example would be citywide hiring. Obviously, that is a core function in every department, but it's a bigger organizational issue right now that's being led with by the HR department, but all departments are involved. It takes a focus citywide if we're going to make a dent in really reducing our vacancy factor and then also retaining our employees. So that's why that's on the roadmap. Same with something like, to give you another example, would be the vehicle abatement program that's on the roadmap. It involves multiple departments and it's going to take leadership to reimagine how we might look at vehicle abatement, especially with the intersectionality of vehicles, RVs that are on our streets that have homeless people in it or just abandoned by themselves. So that's kind of the distinction we're driving. But I don't want anybody to take away that these are taking cross-functional, cross-organizational effort driven from the city manager's office, does not take away from the improvements that we want to make at our core services that each department director is also responsible for.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think, Lee, to your point, the value of slide 6 in part is saying that there are trade-offs, and that's kind of the same point I'm making, and I appreciate that. I just worry that if we say, well, these are core city services, I'm worried about there is going to be a bias in the nature and what we focus on at the council and the quality of the conversation we have at this level. If we put the core services in the big gray box here, that's kind of the iceberg under the surface of the water, versus the change initiatives that we focus on here. And so much of what I hear about in the community are the core services that touch people's lives every day. Why can't I play soccer in the park because it's so full of gopher holes? Why are the roads not better maintained? Why is 911 response time slower than I think it ought to be? Or whatever. And I guess my worry is the way that we've structured this is a reflection of sort of the structure of the system, the complex system we're running as a city. But the reason I always want us to start the conversation with the goals, what's the outcome we're trying to drive for our residents, is that we're inherently, just by the way we've structured this, biasing our conversation toward a bunch of new cross-functional initiatives that are all great and important, but by default, we're spending less time talking about what exactly is necessary to drive that optimization of core services that are the things that I actually hear a lot more about from residents. I just think that we've structured this because we've started from, well, there's the departments and the core services. Now here are the change initiatives that we see as cross-functional that are the future. It's all important, but I would prefer if we started from a stack ranking of the goals that our community has, and we actually structured the whole thing around the outcomes we're trying to drive. I find this division to be somewhat unproductive.
Okay, I mean, appreciate the feedback. I think, the point of slide 6, and I would just say we spent an awful lot of time on that. And there's a reason that it's laid out the way that it's laid out, with the change initiatives not being on the top. It's not the peak. And I wouldn't say necessarily it's a workflow. Sometimes the cross-departmental work, a lot of the things on the roadmap are actually not just contingent on our own efforts and our own performance, but our partners as well. And so that cross-agency work, it takes on a different form. And so things are in startup mode, so we may work around them differently. So definitely get your point on this might be organized in a way that captures the way we work versus what we're trying to prioritize.
Right.
With that said, I think where we're trying to go with this slide, and as part of the evolution, is to get to a point where you guys have had a conversation over the last year is around that trade-off. And so just to go down a level, as an example, the police reforms bucket. You're absolutely right to use that as an example. There's going to be trade-offs there. And that's our job as staff in the next iteration when we come forward into Kpis, is say, of these 450 recommendations and everything else that's followed through, here's what we would prioritize. But here's also the core services that we may need to do as well, and for you guys to give us direction there, because that's a conversation I think that you want to have, and those are the trade-offs. And so part of the alignment of the performance management and the outcomes that we want to do this year is for us to be able to have those trade-off conversations. And I think through that, maybe this can be organized better, but that is part of where we're trying to go.
Got it. And it may be structurally impossible, but I would personally prefer to see a roadmap for the city holistically that includes what we're doing to improve core services. I worry that a roadmap focused on the new cross-functional change initiatives for the future draws our attention there, when I think we need to be spending more time as a council talking about how we're working with you all to improve those core services. I think I'm out of time, so I'll pause there, Mayor. I did have one other thought, but go ahead.
Okay, we'll come back. Thank you. All right. I don't see, actually, I want you to keep going because I don't see other hands raised at this moment. Oh, you do? All right, let's go to Councilmember Davis, and we'll come right back to you.
Thank you. When you went through the roadmap, I was trying to take notes, and there were some items I have to say I just missed because it went by quickly, and I'd like a little bit more detail. So on slide 10, the reemployment and workforce development, can you talk about the details of that one? All I wrote down was work to future and then the question mark. So it was going by pretty quickly. And these are items that I think are really important.
Thank you, Councilmember. Jeff Ruster is here to give you more details on that initiative.
So the reemployment plus workforce development is all a work to future driven. Is that correct, Rosalind? Hold on a second, Jeff. We
I
need
think
your
the mic's off right now.
mic.
Thank you, Councilmember. Jeff Ruster with the Office of Economic Development, Assistant Director. The Work to Future program, we are leading on that, but we work with many partners. So we are working with over 60 agencies that serve low income, lower skilled individuals. We refer clients back and forth. And then our main mission is really to train those individuals and prepare them for careers and jobs that lead to living wage, that have career pathways associated with them. So we will serve probably about 2,000 clients this year through a variety of programs that include those that are funded by Work to Future, that are funded by American Rescue Plan resources, and general fund resources as well. So again, it's a collaborative effort, and then we serve many different kinds of clients, youth and adults, and prepare them for careers, again, in driving sectors.
How is this different, Jeff? So we're talking about COVID recovery and economic resiliency. How is what you're doing going to be different this year than what you've done in the past?
Very good question. Quite a few things, actually. One of the things that we've done in light of COVID is we have moved much closer to those clients that were most impacted by COVID. So we are now present on the east side in Las Plumas Center, which brings, again, closer to those areas that were hit hardest by COVID. So hopefully that will increase awareness, ease of access for these kind of services. We're going to have a lot of our partners join us there that will be providing a wide variety of services, working with the trades on a trade orientation program. We'll be offering entrepreneurship workshops to individuals that historically have not accessed Work to Future clients. So that's one big thing. The other thing is through COVID, there was a collaborative effort called Bridge to Recovery, which was initially led by Catholic Charities, which again is the initiative where 60 different agencies have come together to really kind of bring the system more cohesively together to provide wraparound services for housing and health and food and other kind of support that they need in addition to workforce. And I would just add as well that many of those that were hit hardest by COVID have historically been our main clients with Work to Future. That is historically who we have served. Lower skilled, lower income, people of color have been historically our clients. So it's really more this collaborative effort and bringing the clients, bringing our services closer to those clients.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did see in the CSA presentation for the budget, the number of clients that you were targeted to serve this year is not that much larger than in this current fiscal year. Can you talk a little bit about why that is? If you're changing the way you're doing things and we have this need for our most impacted communities to get back into the workforce and for some retraining, some jobs didn't come back, we know, and so there's the need for retraining. Why are we not having a large spike in the number of projected clients for this year?
Right.
And you do have additional staff in the budget, I believe.
Yeah, 1 or 2 extra staff to support some of our American Rescue Plan, including the Resiliency program. I think why you don't see that spike immediately is that our offices were closed for 18 months and just reopened in October of 2021. And during that interim process, from October really to January, is when we made the move over to Las Plumas site. So January of 2022 is when we opened up. We were still facing some restrictions in terms of the number of clients we could serve. There was a 50 limit at that time. But now that that's behind us, I do think going forward, you will see a significant number in the increase of clients. Also, the numbers that are in that budget book, and it is something that we're looking to change as well, only are kind of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act, the WIOA federal funding that we get. It doesn't include other types of programs that we have for San Jose Works, which is general fund, or ARP related resources.
Yeah, thank you. I think it would be beneficial for all of us to know how many clients you are actually serving, regardless of the funding source, and to report that to us. And I see Jim is nodding his head, so I'm glad that the budget director agrees with me on that. Because it doesn't look like you are having as big of an impact as you're telling me that you're having. So we need to know, and I hope that you're tracking regardless of the source of funding, that you're tracking all of these clients and giving us unduplicated clients that you've been serving and what the outcomes are for them.
Absolutely. And the only other thing I would add, Council Member, and I appreciate all your comments, is that we served about 5,000 to 6,000 additional clients that were never enrolled in our programs during that kind of core COVID period. Those numbers were not counted as well. So those are people that went to our virtual job fairs, that accessed our online trainings that we had, or our virtual workshops. So there were a lot of clients that we did serve that are not being counted in that particular number.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And then the next item on this same slide that I had questions about was the small business recovery and resilience. I heard Business Walks and Latino Business Foundation and Excite Credit Union in one location, and I heard eviction assistance for small businesses. Is there anything else? I got to say, the Business Walks in terms of business economic resilience doesn't really seem huge, and I'd like to know more about why we think that that was worthy of discussing, honestly, because it seems like a small thing to me.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Davis, for your question. Bloggers Lodge with the Office of Economic Development. I think Rosalind was probably just trying to keep her comments very tight because there's actually a lot that we've been doing for supporting small business recovery and resiliency. There's actually, we put out 2 memos, one just in March to the Community and Economic Development Committee, and one the previous September, that outlined kind of our comprehensive work plan that includes things like supporting underserved neighborhoods with new business district managers and technical assistance for small business, and building organizational capacity for community-based organizations that work in those districts. We have the small business grant program that you heard about earlier or last week in our presentation, CED presentation. That's the $2.5 million for outstanding rent debt that we're launching. We launched this month that we hope will serve about 300 businesses. We have the partnership with Start Small, Think Big that works not only on the rent eviction program that Rosalind mentioned, but that has wraparound services for other legal advice that small businesses might need as they're experiencing difficulties during this time. So we do have a much more comprehensive plan of small business recovery, support, and resiliency. I'm happy to forward those 2 specific memos that lay out much more detail about our program.
If I can just jump in really quickly as well, just so that we didn't speak to you for 4 hours straight. We definitely summarized a lot of the work that was in these boxes. So our next body of work, other than once council approves, whatever is on the roadmap, and as part of that final MBA, is we will be, as soon as the budget is passed, working with all the initiative leads to build out the vision, outcomes in all of these boxes, and a more formalized work plan that the mayor and council will be able to engage in more fully around some of those details.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I just know that we may get into some horse trading here about what goes, which boxes belong in here and what gets swapped out. And so I wanted to make sure, honestly, that when we're talking about pandemic community and economic recovery, that I knew a little bit more about these boxes, because I think these 4 are the most critical ones in the upcoming fiscal year. So that's why I asked, and I completely understand that you guys have to do an overview for us. But it's very helpful to have this level of detail. So I really appreciate it. Thanks, Blage.
Sure, no problem.
That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Perales?
Yeah, thank you. And I I'm actually was intrigued by what Councilmember Mayhew was saying on sort of the discussion around how we look at the roadmap, and was trying to consider what that might look like for the core city services. And I'm just, I was kind of rescouring through the budget to kind of get an idea. My understanding, number one, with the core city services is that our budget document sort of is that document of, right, of our roadmap for all of our core city services. And then looking at it, for instance, in the example that was brought up on reducing, the response time or something like that under the public safety city service area, we do break out percentages, and we're looking at, what's happening there, what our goals are. I'm curious, what might that look like if we were to take the budget document in these 264 core city services that are qualitative in nature, that we can actually measure, that we are breaking out in the budget. What would that actually look like to turn it into a similar document? I don't know if, I guess I'm kind of curious. I don't know, maybe I'll ask Councilmember Mahan first, but I'm kind of curious, is that your thought, like similar to a document that we're looking at here with this roadmap, but taking those 260 that we have within our budget document and just putting it into a similar kind of presentation, what we're looking at today?
I appreciate the question. I'd recommend that we focus in as a council on a much smaller set. The departments for their own internal performance management will need probably much more complex systems than we're going to be able to grapple with at the council level. But my observation is that the performance measures in the budget kind of sit there. We dutifully collect the data. They often don't change much. We don't have a lot of conversation at the council level about which ones are most important or what. Or ask a lot of questions of the administration of how we're going to change them. And so we'll see very important metrics that are at 85% of goal year over year over year over year, and we don't have a lot of conversation about whether or not that's a problem or we want to invest to change that. My observation here is that by calling this the 2022-2023 city roadmap and having it beautifully designed and dedicating a whole meeting to it, these change initiatives will be where we most focus and put our emphasis. And I want to make sure that as we put the emphasis here, we're not unintentionally making a trade-off we don't even realize we're making, which is that we're focused on the important, certainly, but the shiny new objects versus what is the trade-off we're actually making versus core city delivery of core services. And because they're in very different formats, and the budget's 1,000 pages long with 300 some performance measures that are pretty much static every year, it's hard to know, are we really being strategic about where we're putting our emphasis and our resources and putting the right focus on what we want to change for our residents? Because the questions I so often hear are about core city services, but we're having a whole meeting here talking about these futuristic change initiatives that we also know are important. And I'm not arguing that we should only do one or the other. I want to see more of a synthesis so that as basically an oversight body, we are consistently thinking and asking questions and putting the right emphasis on what matters for our residents. And to me, the only way to do that is to start from goals and to have a small number of goals and to stack rank them, to baseline against past performance, to benchmark against other cities and do the trade-offs at that top level of goals, not have two different governing documents for core services and change initiatives. I find that kind of confusing, and I worry it takes our emphasis off of optimizing and improving core services. I certainly would suggest we try to put 266 measures into a single roadmap, but I find that the siloing of the two a little concerning.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's helpful to kind of get a better understanding. The only thing I'll disagree with was kind of what you said second to last on, I think, the set of goals or comparing to other cities and whatnot. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't think we have to get into that conversation today. But I actually do agree with the discussion on what may appear as sort of the focus of the priority for the council, which is the day that we spend today talking about, change initiatives and whatnot, and that there may be some assumption that, hey, that's the priority. I know that's not for me, but, and I'm assuming staff knows that's not for them, but that could be the indication because people are hearing, oh, this is the new ads that council has talked about, and this is the priority. And I would agree that we don't actually spend, the same sort of amount of time or energy as a council to deliberate, the rest of the budget, the rest of our core city service areas, 264, right, that we've now talked about, because quite frankly, and me included, we stayed pretty quiet last week, right? And so there wasn't much of an input on all of those, and I think that was our opportunity to do so if we wanted to dive into each of those individual core service areas. So I don't know if it's that we don't allow ourselves the time. Maybe it's just that we're not engaging in the way that we could be, in the opportunity that we have here through the budget cycle. Because I kind of see that as this is the chance that we get to to nitpick some of what we may want to see some change on. But I do agree with the other sentiment that it doesn't have to be either or. We should be doing both. We should be having this conversation today around what are some of the change initiatives, what are the new things we may want to add, or what is it we want to put on a backlog, because there's always going to be something new or iterative. We can't necessarily just assume that the core city service that we've been providing for decades is the same thing that we should be providing moving forward. So I think today's conversation is as important as well. But I wouldn't be against maybe a collective brain dump or thought of similar to where Councilmember Mahan is going, because I don't necessarily think that we utilize the budget process or the time, and I imagine every head in here would nod, we didn't utilize the time very well last week, or maybe we don't every single year. So maybe there is a better way that we can do that. And so maybe we put some thought into that before next year's process, that we say, hey, look, we spend a good focused time effort on these change initiatives. Maybe we rethink how we engage in our discussion on the budget process, and we have a whole year now to do that since we just finished it, and be able to say, all right, how do we then create some better discussion and dialogue through our budget process? We have the time, we set that aside already, we have all the documents, we know the info, but I don't think there is robust engagement on those core city service areas. I would agree with Councilmember Mahan just said, right? A lot of these numbers and the goals, they kind of stay the same. We don't engage too much. And so, and it is, I think maybe it's because it's a lot. So maybe, I know we break it down as we did last week, right? And the different city service areas. Anyways, I am intrigued by it. And that's why I'm kind of thinking out loud here. And so hopefully staff is catching some of that as well, to say, okay, maybe there is a way that we can, milk a little bit more out of the council than we got this past week, and that we've gotten historically as well. So, but not to take away from the presentation and discussion day, because again, as I started off with, it isn't an either or. This is important as well. We need to have this discussion, and I know we'll debate maybe what should be added or not added to the list too. Again, but thanks for just kind of again thinking out loud, sharing some thoughts. I see a bunch of staff with their ready to hit their button. And I just kept talking so that you couldn't do it. So, but
yeah. So this is Dolan. So I think I have three things. One is probably most importantly, later on in the presentation, we're going to specifically talk about the new initiative that we added called Outcomes, Equity Indicators, and Performance Management, which addresses, I think, almost everything we've been talking about here. I can't change the past, but looking forward, we can use that initiative as the opportunity to look how we might better align the discussion on the CSAs and the budget and the city roadmap and the outcome measures in the future. The second is, and Kip may want to jump in here, but from my perspective, city services are represented here as expressed by the community and the council in their priorities. So traffic safety is a core city service, but we've had so many fatalities, we've elevated it to the enterprise priority level to focus on it. I think trash, blights, beautify San Jose, encampment trash services are things that we've done for a very, very long time, but it got to the point where we have to escalate it. If there are other things that the council wants to escalate, we can put them into the backlog, we can prioritize them, we can add them there, right? So if that is something we can absolutely do moving forward in terms of like focusing and beginning to look at what are the most important measures, that's what we're proposing we're going to be doing in that city roadmap initiative. You did give us direction, Councilmember Mahan. Actually, you gave your colleagues direction to come up with a performance measure for each one. and that didn't move forward. It was staff take the first cut. We took our first cut, and some of that work in progress is in the MBA. We ran into the same challenge that the mayor talked about with public safety, which is the response time really the outcome we want to measure, or is it something else that more indicative? And that we're finding is going to take a little amount of time. We have looked at other cities. Other cities like San Diego and San Francisco are actually looking to us to adopt the framework we have in place. San Diego has 18 objectives and 43 high-level performance measures that they publish as their top line. So, so we are doing all the things and looking about what other cities are doing and looking at what we're doing, and we're finding cities are looking to us to lead the way. And we recognize we have some improvement to make, which is why that's a huge, heavy lift, that second box on the lower left, outcomes, equity indicators, and performance management. And we are going to talk about that more if we find we can adopt the roadmap and prioritize the backlog.
Councilmember Frost,
I was done. Yeah, sorry, I was done, Mayor.
Okay. We're going to keep going. I know Councilmember Readiness and Councilmember Esparza both like to speak. Let me just interject one thing. Yeah, this has been a really good conversation. And it's one of the situations where I think everybody's right. I know it sounds like a politician, but I think the iceberg metaphor is an apt one, because it really is the case that we're seeing these 41 initiatives as being what's above the surface. It's also the case that many of these initiatives do incorporate basic services of the city that are core to what our residents are concerned about: homelessness, flight, and traffic safety, as was mentioned. So in some ways, it's on us as a council here to say, look, if it's really about continuous change in our organization that we should be primarily focused on, and not the shiny new object, we have the ability to bump the shiny new object and put the continuous change initiatives around public safety, for example, into this roadmap. But I think Councilmember Mahan is really struck on something which is important, which is, we're really starting with the end in mind. And, I think that's a really important issue we've got to grapple with, because bluntly, I'd have to admit, I'm not sure we have. We clearly have started with 6 priorities that we all agreed and unanimously voted. These are the 6 important categories of things that we're going to wrestle with through the budget message, and that's a good reflection of our priorities. Setting the goals, as we know, is much, much harder and a heavier lift. So anyway, I know that work is underway, and we're going to hear more about it shortly. But I guess I just wanted to say, I think that Councilmember Mahan's point is one that can be embraced within the framework we've got. And it's just going to require us, I think, this hard work that we're doing around setting goals, outcomes, performance measures, and so forth is going to be super important to set us up for success in the months ahead. I look forward to seeing all that work out. Okay, Councilmember Readiness.
Thank you. I want to thank our folks who have been working really hard all year through, not only on the city roadmap that includes some of our strategies that we need to shift to as the needs of our residents change and the way that we do things needs to change, and also as a result of the pandemic. And so it takes a great deal of effort and focus and coordination to actually shift a bureaucracy this huge. This bureaucracy is meant to do is focus on very specific city services so that we can then be efficient. But in that process, we do create what we call it, and people may not appreciate as a bureaucracy, right? But I don't see it as inefficient. I see it as a whole system that has been set up to do its job, and mainly on core services. I'm not sure why we continue to be talking about core services. We had an opportunity to do that last week. I sure delved into the core services that I was interested in, as well as I have an opportunity to do that on committee through work plans. And so I'm not sure that, there's a point to to today's conversation is the city roadmap in the way that the council wants to be flexible and respond to our residents' needs in the moment. This is what the roadmap is about. It's not about core services. We had an opportunity to talk about that last week. And to be honest with you, that conversation has could have been more fruitful if all of us had raised our hands. But in the moment, I think that we probably all feel that we're on the right track with our core services. I'm not sure that there's more that we can do in terms of changing anything about our core services, except to maybe augment it with additional funding, which is what we find ourselves in a pickle. But what we can do is change some of the ways that we provide services so that our most neediest of our residents can receive them, so that we can connect with them, because our residents that's not their job. Their job is not to find us. Our job is to find them. And so our city roadmap and this, I know that Lee went through the whole history of it, but from when I started, this was a priority setting process where there was a new strategy that needed to get developed and implemented. And this is the process that we took. And I think this is a great way to marry both things. One, the city service areas that we discussed last week. And then today is our city roadmap that talks about some of the strategies that we need to, or policies that we need to be flexible as we are seeing our residents struggle. And so a bureaucracy always needs that type of flexibility. And so I'm glad that I'm really actually happy about the process that we've been going through. I don't know that we all felt very confident when I came in for our priority setting process, but the way that it's been set up now, I'm absolutely sure that we are making progress. And I may not agree with every item on our roadmap, but that's okay. We don't always have to agree, but this sometimes where other people's perspectives may play a part in their skill set in terms of the priorities that their residents and their communities that they represent and that they've been listening to. It reflects a combination of everyone. What I would like to see is that our city roadmap will always have an equity priority setting process. And I know that every department's already deep into an equity driven budget process and policy, as well as maybe even strategies that they're shifting. So I'm going to ask the same question that and the point that I made last week about how are we holding each of the items that we are funding to an equity, to the light of equity. How are we going to make sure that the soft story building earthquake retrofit is going to the neediest of property owners? Because I see that not only a way to protect our resident, but this is also a subsidy for property owners. Or how are we going to make sure that the airport connector or the wage theft prevention policy is based or dedicated to the most neediest of those communities? And so that's my question. How are we making sure that each of these strategies or policies or programs or projects that we're talking about today have already been centered or will be centered on equity?
Thanks, Councilmember Arenas. I'm going to give you a general process approach to the document that's going to have that, and then if Lee or Jim want to jump in, they can. So further to Councilmember Davis's question, each one of those 42 initiatives is going to have like an initiative charter that's going to make it clear what's the scope, what's the impact, what's the equity lens, what's the performance measure or outcome measure we're trying to achieve. And we'll be, assuming the roadmap gets approved and the budget gets approved, we'll be working on that first thing in July and publishing that as part of kind of a separate MBA. So we'll be taking all of the good work that the Office of Racial Equity and Budget Office has been doing and integrating that into a definition for each one of these 42 initiatives. So that's where you will see that.
And if I can just jump in, this is Lee, council member. I think as part of that work, the questions that you're asking are the exact questions that Jennifer and I would expect, the team as they're developing those work plans to ask themselves and each other. And I think that's where we're trying to get with not just items on the roadmap, but throughout the entire organization, whether they're core services or work with our partners. And I would just say that I think that's why we also included the advancing equity through culture and practice so that we're continuing the time, attention, and focus on the administration around those trainings, around those very set of questions so that we can continue to improve on that work as we move these items forward.
Yeah, and Councilmember Arenas, this is Dolan again. As you see there in I think what will become the infamous initiative for 22-23, the outcomes, the equity indicators, and the performance management is all bundled into that to make sure that we are doing exactly what you said. So it's part of the process, but there will be specific deliverables where you'll actually be able to see this initiative is intending to create this impact in our community, and the impact, of course, being having an equity lens to it.
Okay, so when all that gets sifted through, I should be able to see, and our residents should be able to see, that there is some form of outreach that goes beyond an online survey, that goes beyond an online focus group, but that really connects with them in a meaningful way, whoever those target audiences are. Maybe for police reforms, there's some of the community-based organizations, but also some of the parent-led groups or more informal groups, that those folks are also having some level of outreach and bringing those people into the fold, into those conversations. How and this is one of the reasons why I had proposed a promotoras model last year, and I'm really glad to hear a bit of the update. I'm going to ask some questions about it, and maybe that's what I'll do now is how are we going? One of the issues that I found, especially that we already knew this because we knew that our programs and services weren't necessarily being utilized by our most neediest of residents because they require a lot more effort to engage or to recruit or to sign up or to register. And we need to be equitable in the way that we provide services. And so I'm going to expect that every program and project and any strategy that we're developing, that we will have that in mind. How are we using our promotoras model to bring in folks into some of these programs and projects, and especially when we think about the workforce diversity talent pipeline, or when we think about the police reforms? What are we doing? How are we utilizing them?
So, Councilmember Arenas, this is Lee. I'll start, and then I'd ask Rosalind Huey to jump in on the promotoros kind of pilot that the city's doing. But I do think you raise an excellent question, and that's some of the how for these initiatives is yet to be developed. they're buckets of work that we need to fill out, but the expectation is that they start and end with the community as a part of our work to advance racial equity through the organization. And so some of these initiatives are at different stages, and they're all fairly unique. So I would imagine that they'll be informed from a variety of different variables, but start with who we're trying to serve and who we're trying to make a difference for, which are the fundamental questions that we should be asking ourselves as we start some of these. So that'll be work that we build out the engagement process as a part of these work plans when we come forward. But would ask Rosalind to jump in on the Promotoros pilot.
Thank you. Councilmember Arenas, one of the things about the Promotoros model, we know that it works. It's something actually that's not new to our community. In our research and implementing this in the recovery task force work, we found several community-based organizations that currently have promotores in their organizations doing the work in the community. So organizations like Somos Mayfair, Community University, Community Health Partnerships, and Working Partnerships. And so what we're going to be doing as part of the recovery task force is actually hiring these individuals to be in the community. These are the folks who are already members of those neighborhoods that have been hardest hit by the pandemic. And the great thing that we can do with the recovery enterprise priority, it focuses on housing. It focuses on reemployment and workforce development, small business recovery. So we'll have these individuals in our neighborhoods speaking with those residents, getting an understanding of what the barriers are, figuring out what the gaps are, and bringing that back to the task force as they formulate recommendations to kind of fill in those gaps that our existing recovery initiatives on the roadmap aren't filling. So we have a tremendous opportunity in using this model through the recovery work. And our goal is to, as we develop the work plans for these initiatives on the roadmap, actually work with our city departments to use this model in their engagement and outreach activities as well.
Thank you. That is a lot to for these promotoras to do. How many do you approximate hiring?
That's a good question. We're initially thinking of at least 5. We do know that in the current proposed budget, that there's additional funding for this work as well. So we're looking to bring on more as well.
Yes, I think more is going to be the answer for us, especially as we try to, we are not taking on the displacement strategy issue area. I know that it's part of the backlog list. And as we see throughout the whole city, schools shutting down, families leaving, and I've been talking about families leaving since I first started 6 years ago, that we're actually seeing a lot of the results that started many years even before the pandemic, and that the pandemic has just facilitated for everyone. And so part of this is also doing some displacement. For me, some of what the promotoras are going to be doing when they talk about housing, when they talk about workforce development to residents, when they talk about small businesses and their recovery, this is also about, they're talking also about, this is a way of hoping to put a light finger on displacement. I'd love to see displacement get brought up into the fold once again, as we're going through what we know is an inflation period and what we've seen as interest rates go up, so that the federal government wants us to stop demanding so much, and so stop putting so much pressure, and hopefully pull back some of those purchases on every level. This, if not done correctly, will may lead to a recession, and we're going to find ourselves in a place where we found ourselves back in 2008. And so I hope that we learn from what we've done in the past, where it's in the past, what we had to do is we had to cut back programs where folks couldn't pay for those services, and where if we don't know our communities well, that we might leave them without the support that they need. I used the example last week. I'm going to repeat it once again. I reopened the Welch Community Center because it had been closed for close to 20 years. And this is an area where it's always been crime and gang and, you know, all of those factors that create an environment that will determine how successful a child will be in their lifetime. Those zip codes, right? And in Welch Community Center, ever since I have funded programs out there, classes like, you know, soccer or cheerleading, or, you know, the many array of classes that our wonderful Readiness department provides, the first classes always get canceled, always. It is a given. And I don't know why we don't learn that this particular community needs to have registration on site. But as a large system, what we do is we just drop things off. This, if you know, if they didn't have a squeaky wheel like myself, eventually there would be no classes there once again, because staff would just say, well, people aren't interested. Even though once we do some active engagement, those classes get filled within a week, maybe even less than a week. And then the subsequent classes also get filled, of course, all scholarshiped out. So,
Councilmember, I know that we're well over time. Do you want
I'm going to wrap this
bring
up.
it to the point, and then we can come back to you?
Yes, I'm gonna bring this to a point, which is one of the reasons why we need to make sure that we have new strategies, and why we have a roadmap, is so that we can continue to be flexible and responsive as a system. And so this to me is the right process that we're taking. And second, I'm going to wrap up my other thought about the promotoras. This is why we also need to expand the promotoras program. 5 is just, you know, it's a tease, right? We're just getting ourselves started. And so I'd like to encourage my colleagues, Mayor, to continue to support this. This is going to be part of the answer to communities like mine, and mine are not the most challenged. As you'll hear my other council colleagues, if they speak, they will tell you their communities are a lot more challenged than mine. And so with that, I'll just wrap up. Thank you so much for your presentation, but most importantly, the work that stands behind it.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Esparza.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll be brief. I think this is working. So yeah. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One is I wanted to thank, likewise wanted to thank staff for a tremendous amount of work that has gone into this roadmap process. I wanted to echo some comments earlier. That if we didn't already know we were the thinnest staffed big city in the country, this past 2 years really illustrated the fact that we need to make deliberate choices. And in the past 2 years, we have made deliberate choices to focus on saving lives, keeping people housed, sheltering folks, really addressing the life and death issues of COVID. And so I appreciate the process that's in front of us now. And secondly, I wanted to comment on some of the comments made earlier, which is likewise, I don't necessarily see the choices as conflicting. And I'll tell you why. When 5 of us started working in 2019 to really address equity issues in our city, it started with the list. It started with a whole list of stuff in our respective districts. And by the way, our districts were also the hardest. We represented communities that were hardest hit by COVID in the county. And we started coming up with a list, and the list kept growing and it kept growing. And then it grew some more. And we looked around and realized this isn't a list. This is just not a list. It's not going to work. All 5 of us grew up in San Jose. We had seen structural inequities. We'd experienced structural inequities. And so we landed upon equity because it is built into the core services that the city does. So I think both are true, that initiatives such as our equity work and looking at those equity indicators and performance management, that those are actually part and should be part and parcel of our core services. And what might be a critical issue in one part of the city, it might be gopher holes. In another part of the city, it might be, some more life and death issues. And so in the things that those core things that we do as a city, there should be some standards of service citywide. And then we should also be looking at those equity initiatives. And to my mind, I think we need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I think our community rightly expects us to do that. And so I look forward to more discussions on that, but I just wanted to bring that up. I don't think that they are mutually exclusive. And I'll leave it at that in the interest of brevity. All right.
Thank you. Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, thank you. I want to first thank staff. I appreciate that this year's roadmap was based on some continuity from last year's roadmap rather than kind of a process that starts from scratch each year that can cause us to have to shift gears too often. So I'm glad that you kind of came forward with what you recommend be on the roadmap rather than sort of have this that exercise we went through last year, which I felt doesn't allow us to really make progress and continue to make sustained progress towards our goals. So I thank you for that. I want to agree with some of the things that have been said from a whole variety of people, but I do want to distinguish between what are on this roadmap and everything else that we talk about, and we talk about all year. I mean, we do talk at our meetings during the year about most of the primary core services, and we've been talking about what's going to go into the budget since March and how the budget process itself is the sense of values of how we want to address those core services. We added resources into various areas. We're still talking about some like libraries and others that are core services our people are asking about. Obviously, as Councilmember Perales said, we didn't chime in as much as maybe we should have, but I think we have been over a period of months through the process of the March budget message and this message, and that led us to this overwhelming document, which is hard to chime in on when you do a series, 10 hours, 15 hours in 1 week. But this is kind of the second step. What's bothered me, and I've raised this before with the staff, with at least some of you, is I think it's a terminology issue. When I hear city roadmap, I think, what are we going to do what is the city working on? What is the city's focus? And if I'm a resident and I look at the city's roadmap, I would expect to see the core services on it because the city's roadmap should be achieving objectives around the core services, in addition to other things. And so I think maybe we ought to be thinking about how we present this document differently. And I heard the word enterprise priorities, so maybe this is our enterprise priority discussion, or maybe this is our change initiative discussion. We know we need these because the core services in the future will need to have new ways we'll have to have modernized processes for addressing the core services. And this change initiative list is really just getting us to the next generation of doing the core services that are going to be ongoing. So maybe that's just something to think about in the future. Is this to me is not the city roadmap, because the city roadmap is addressing road safety and homelessness and economic development, all the things we do as a city. And then we have these initiatives that we do to support them that we have to continue to provide resources for. And so I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not sure how, if we want to, make that change or whatever, but I think that might make this clearer. I agree that there's so many of those other things, it's hard to put that on one table, but I assume, and I know actually, that each department has a table like this of what your priorities are. And these fit into some of those tables. And so perhaps at some point we present that roadmap by saying, here's the entire roadmap, which is the priorities of each of the departments. And from that, here is the set of change initiatives that we're focused on in order to improve all of that. So at some point there could be a booklet that says, here's all of the roadmap items that we're working on as a city. And then on the last day of the budget process, we're confirming as a council, we agree with the change initiatives or enterprise priorities that are supporting all of the rest of that. So I don't know if there's any comment or not, or I just wanted to throw that out there and see what people think. But
Yeah,
that was my
I
input.
guess. Hi, this is Dolan Beckel. I'll channel the ghost of Kip Harkness, who can chime in as well, since he coined the term. But I think we're definitely open to that. I think that we have also struggled with community feedback about the roadmap and what it represents. And so I think we'll definitely take that into consideration and definitely not against it. In fact, I think it solves a lot of ways of describing this work to our community. I also think that I want to see how the ability to we spend a lot of time admiring the sausage making, but not the sausage. And I think once we get to the point where we can pull out, the indicators on various dashboards, and you can begin to see the indicators for enterprise priority initiatives versus core city services, I think that's also going to help a lot, because right now we got them spread across 1,000 pieces of paper. And so I think in addition to that, I think terminology and making it clear to the community and to ourselves, I also think that as we look at what we're doing this year in that outcomes and performance management initiative, I think we'll also be finding ways to make the actual end result and impact easier to understand by creating different types of dashboards for different users, so that it does become more clear what we're focusing on and what we're performing.
Yeah, thank you. And I kind of see this as from an opposite view as Councilmember Mahan. I don't think that this particular exercise and document distracts us from the core work. I think the core work is being done, and I know that through the interactions that my staff and I have with all of the other staffs of the departments, that we talk about it all year and we work on getting those things done. I know those things are happening. I just get concerned about public perception of what's happening and what our priorities are if we put this full day into this particular piece of it, and it looks like we're leaving things off of that. So that's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Mahan?
Yeah, I'll just thank you, Mayor. I actually exactly agree with the direction you're going. That's the whole point I'm trying to make, is that I just want to see greater integration. I think when we call it a city roadmap, the assumption is that this is the priority. These are the most important things we're working on. And I'm not in any way, I think some of my colleagues may have misunderstood what I said, which is on me, but I'm not arguing that we should prioritize turf conditions in parks over pedestrian deaths. In fact, my observation is that last week, and when we started in each CSA, we looked at KPIs, and many of our questions were actually about change. What are we doing in this CSA to reduce pedestrian deaths, to improve response times, Councilmember Cohen had some great questions last week about how are we going to fill vacancies faster and staff faster. I mean, so all of our questions last week, and I did ask some questions last week, were about change. And my only point is, let's make sure we are integrating and not siloing, and that we're properly prioritizing and aligning the change initiatives back to the CSAs, and that there's some better connective tissue there. And to me, the starting place for that is really the KPIs. It's how we measure success. I think if our conversation through this process, my biggest concern has been that we have not had a lot of robust conversation at the council level about how we measure success and the prioritization or stack ranking of those measures. And I think that that's why last week's conversation feels siloed to me from what we're seeing on this roadmap today. And absolutely, equity should be at the very core of that conversation. That should actually be what we should be prioritizing most of all across some of these across all of these core services. My concern is just that last week's conversation feels siloed from this week's conversation. And I heard one of my colleagues say something that I very much disagree with, which is that core services are something we talked about last week, and we can't really improve them unless we have more staffing, and that's it. Well, actually, I think the whole point of change initiatives is that we should be finding all the ways, staffing, including technology and process improvements and prioritization and dropping things that are non-essential. The whole conversation should be about how do we change and evolve to better deliver the outcomes our community needs. And the vast majority of that is about core service delivery. So I find it still a little confusing to have last week's conversation be focused on core services and then that's sort of like, well, the only way to solve that is more staffing. And then this week we'll talk about the change initiatives. And I think all I'm asking for is a more holistic or integrated approach. I think that, our change initiatives, if we want to call this our change initiative roadmap, should integrate both the way that we're going to improve delivering the most basic services that we've delivered for 100 years, as well as the projects that are looking around the corner at where we need to innovate and develop new capabilities. And those to me should be on the same roadmap because they're all about change to deliver better outcomes for the community. That's really the only point I'm trying to make.
If I could just weigh in on that too, I agree. As we were trying to work on, the priorities from the March budget message, translating them into how do they fit into our enterprise priorities, so we're still focused and we're not doing different things and we're still staying focused. And then as I was discussing with staff, it has to be integrated from the operational to the core service, to the department, to the city service area, to the roadmap. All of the performance measures need to be integrated so we can understand at the most basic level to the staff that's doing the work, how is their work contributing and being meaningful and being measured towards, for example, Safer San Jose. What do we want? What does Safer San Jose mean, and how does it align all the way down to the programmatic level? And so that's what we need to work on, not just put another layer of performance measures on here, because that, to me, I think I said it before, is going to cause major organizational confusion. It needs to be all the way aligned, and that's what that outcome equity indicators and performance management, we want to move from measurement to management. So that's why that intentional word is used there. And we do have a very robust measurement system that needs to be updated, but it doesn't get us to where we want to be with management. And so that's, I think, the key thing that will tie this together, so then we can understand that effort and the tie to when you're reviewing the regular budget, how does those efforts ultimately contribute to a safer San Jose, and the indicators in here, how are we pushing the needle on that? So I think that's what you're talking about.
It is, and it's kind of like the mayor's point last week. Is 911 response time the most important KPI in public safety? Maybe it's not. But whatever it is, whatever we say last week when we look at the safety CSA is our most important goal. If we're short of that goal, I would hope that the #1 change initiative that we're talking about today is aligned with how we're going to hit that goal. I mean, there just needs to be more of an alignment around what do we say is most important to deliver to the community, and then which are the change. And I think the mayor's right. We don't have to throw this out at all. I just want either the city roadmap, if we're going to call it that, needs to be more comprehensive, holistic, and include all the change initiatives that we've prioritized to move the needle on our most important deliverables, or we need to call these innovation or change initiatives, and they actually are different somehow. But we started last week with KPIs and saw that we were short on some of them, and then we're sort of somehow disconnecting this conversation. And I want to make sure that they're integrated.
Yeah, and I think, point well taken by Councilmember Cohen. Maybe we need to, maybe this is a little bit of causing confusion with the word roadmap. I would argue that the entire budget book is our roadmap. Right. Because that means,
so these are our change initiatives.
And these are our change initiatives to support the core services, as these all are core services. If they're an enterprise priority, then they're they're part of our core service system. So all good feedback, which again, we're using this process to improve, we've come a long way from where we were just taking a list of ordinances and little change things that were coming through and trying to make a bigger picture for the council and the community. So thank you very much for the feedback.
All right, yeah, I'm excited to talk about how we're going to get to the, when we get into the better measurement, whereas I'm looking for the box here. It's under
the strategic fiscal positioning.
strategy.
I think it's under the strategic fiscal positioning and resource deployment, the second box. Over.
Outcomes, equity indicators, and performance management. And I know we have that coming up today, so I'll save my comments for that. Thank you.
Councilmember Carrasco.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna try and keep my comments very brief. Council colleagues, I'm not feeling well this morning, and I'm trying to keep up with the conversation. I will say just a couple of things. I appreciate this conversation, and I'll say, and I want to give my gratitude to staff. This has been a very long process, and it's evolved over the years. This process looks very, very different than what it did when I came in almost 8 years ago. And one of the things that I have always found fascinating when we come to May, June time of the year is that divvying up the budget and trying to decide where our monies go, it is always an interesting sort of a game, I suppose. And if anything has surfaced or if there's any good that came out of the pandemic, and I say that really, very carefully, I choose my words very carefully, is that what came to light were many of the issues that many of us have been fighting for over the years. In my case, because I'm, I consider myself one of the elders in this group. I've been around for a while now, fighting the good fight, I think. It was like banging my head on the wall many, many times, trying to convince people that truly people of color did have it a little bit rougher than other folks for many other reasons other than just their imagination. It wasn't a hoax. It wasn't a play on words. It wasn't just because we wanted to feel sorry for ourselves or because we wanted to create situations out of thin air, but rather because there was such a thing called institutionalized racism and institutional barriers that made things very, very difficult for our children and for our families, for our seniors, for our young people to overcome these barriers. And I think that I think without a doubt, the pandemic revealed to many folks who were really struggling with that truth to finally understand that there was truth to those historic realities. And if we're still not convinced of it, I just challenge people to look at our statistics and our data, our numbers, to just simply look at the infections and the deaths and the poverty that now people have really been thrown into. If they weren't already struggling with it, now we've got a whole new class of poverty that we're going to be dealing with for generations. And so I bring that up because May and June is again, it's interesting because we always, as council members, struggle with where do we shift monies, where do we invest, what do we do with our city budget, county budget, VTA, what have you. And we're finally at a place where we believe that we need to shift some of that budget, or at least be able to look at it, or at least we're saying that we're going to look at it through a lens of equity. And I hope that it doesn't just mean that we write it down, that we vocalize and we verbalize, and we like to put it into our reports because it's the day of it's the word of the day, but rather it's because we truly believe that there are communities in the city of San Jose that have been underinvested historically, not for years, not during the pandemic, but historically since the beginning of time. And as a result, when we have crises on our hands, such as a pandemic, these communities get hit extremely hard. And it makes it very difficult, not just for that community to climb out of a disaster, but it makes it really difficult for the entire city to provide services for all the residents, because now we have to throw lifelines to these individuals. And so when I look at the roadmap, I look at the roadmap as a guiding document and action plans that guide staff in an effort to start shifting that investment. And Councilmember Arenas mentioned some of the extra efforts that she has to take in order to make sure that her lowest income communities are served. I have to do that on a daily because my entire community, except for one little community up in the hills that does very, very well, I have my entire staff and myself have to do that on a daily in order to make sure that this community is heard. But I like to remind you, or at least put this out. You know, this is one city divided into 10 different districts. I know that this sounds very basic, and maybe it should go without saying. And if we could envision a city united versus 10 different council districts, and really envision that if those 3 districts that are the hardest hit and contain the residents who are least resourced, in other words, have the lowest poverty rates, have the greatest unemployment, et cetera, all the things that I constantly talk about. I know I sound like a broken record. I will until the last council session in December. But if we could envision those communities finally well-resourced, then we could envision an entire city finally being on that roadmap, on a roadmap actually to being more unified, being healthier, having all of the core services that our residents are clamoring for, that are really demanding of each and every one of us. I know it's a kumbaya moment, and forgive me, but I'm very hopeful that if we really truly were respecting those districts that really needed it and stopped arguing about where the money was going, or actually truly shifting those precious dollars, and truly saw this budget through a lens of equity, then we could truly make a change for the entire city versus constantly trying to figure out how to throw a lifeline and work in crisis mode. And the last thing I want to say is I really appreciate the comments from all of my colleagues. I'm going to request that we keep away from industry jargon. I don't think our audience, our residents, anyone that's listening to us always understands what we mean when we abbreviate or when we use very specific jargon. I'll be honest that sometimes I have to go back to my cheat sheet and try and figure out what some folks are saying. But if we could really be very clear when we're speaking, I think that we owe it also to our folks so that they understand what we're saying every step of the way, and we don't speak in mysterious code words And so KPI, for folks who are listening to us, could really, throw people for a loop, and we may completely lose people as they're trying to really keep up with us. So I'm just requesting that as we're speaking about really important matters such as the budget, let's keep it clear and let's make sure that we include everybody in these conversations.
All right, thank you. Former mayor told me before I took office, one thing we should all remember is that we're on our side. And the point was that sometimes we have a tendency to think that people are saying things that are opposed to whatever it is we say or believe, when they may not, or may just be using different language. And I very much appreciate many points have been made. But certainly, as we talk about, for example, the points raised by Councilmember Mahan around really the need to focus on continuous improvement in many of these core areas like public safety, like addressing homelessness, blight, whatever it might be. These are the concerns we know that are perhaps not voiced most often in our communities that have been marginalized historically, but are most acutely felt in those communities. And certainly, I think this conversation is very much consistent with a concern around equity, because I think it's these core services that many of our residents who are struggling the most depend on the most. So I think there's convergence here. I'd like to think that we're all pushing, I think, in the same direction. I was going to raise a completely different set of issues, which I know will throw everyone for a loop. So I'll try to be as succinct as I can on this. I think two things. First, if I had to pick 41 initiatives, these are as good as any other 41. And so I'm happy to support the motion to approve these. Although I would concede, as Councilman Mahan mentioned, if we were to start with our goals and metrics, and we had done all that work already, because I know that work is still in progress, we might have some different initiatives than these 41, and I think we should probably be open to that reality. That being said, I'm happy to go forward with these 41. I guess the concern I have is somewhat more superficial, and that is, as we look at this chart, and of these 41, and the divisions we've created between, if we could go back to the chart and elevate that one. It's the slide right before this. There we go. As we look at the programs and projects and strategies, and policy, it's not self-evident to me that these divisions help us, as opposed to just having 41 initiatives. And I guess let me illustrate what I mean by this. The Bart Silicon Valley extension is defined as a program or project. The airport connector and Deardown Station is defined as a strategy. Not self-evident to me that one's a project and the other is a strategy, and the same couldn't be said of both. And in fact, if anything, airport connector is actually a project we're leading, and Bart is a project that somebody else is leading, a partner, that's VTA. And I guess I could go down the line as I look at this. And in some ways, these divisions may, in fact, undermine our goals if we're being too wedded to these divisions. For example, the soft story building earthquake retrofit is defined as a policy. It's put in that category. And it's not obvious to me that we know it's a policy that's going to fix it. It may, in fact, not be a policy that fixes it. It may be a strategy, which involves getting lots of partners together and figuring out how we're going to finance something that doesn't maybe require any particular change of policy, but may or may not. Similarly, wage theft. I think we've all agreed we need policy, and that's fine. I don't think our policy is going to do much more than the state's policy is going to do, but we can certainly have a policy. But I'm guessing we might ultimately discover that we'll do more to battle wage theft by enabling more victims of wage theft to have easier ways to report and to be able to do so more comfortably without fear of retribution from their employers. And that's less about policy and more about strategy and lots of other things. So I wanted to raise the question, are we really helping ourselves by dividing this and making it more complex, as opposed to just sort of mushing all these into the general category of projects or initiatives?
So I think it's a good question, Mayor. I was the one who created the problem because when I looked at how the ICMA, I think it's the International City Managers Association, categorizes the workflows in cities as a best practice, they came up with policy, strategies, and programs and projects. So as a way to create probably maybe a little too much structure when there was no structure, we added those in. I personally have no concerns about the mushing. We're beginning to see how as you kind of evolve from completing something that begins to define goals and outcomes and a scope of work into the actual work, that is creating probably some explanation challenges. So I think in the interest of all the conversation we've had about being clear and not making it overly complicated to the point the community doesn't understand, I think those could all just be initiatives.
I appreciate your potential endorsement of mushing. Thank you. Dolan, Lee, you look like you want to jump in.
Yeah, Dolan answered it. I was just going to say, I think maybe the buckets look nicer or the squares by us having them. But I will say the instructions that Dolan and I have started to give to all the initiative leads and the way, especially for the new ones, because a certain amount of what's on this roadmap is work that's in progress already. But as we start to scope out those new ones, the direction we've given on how they scope that out and put the work plan together isn't all that different from policy strategy or the programs and projects. So I think that's fine to go to initiatives.
Okay. If it helps for simplification, I certainly support it. If there's the reason why we're doing it this way to really help our ability to execute, I'm open to hearing more. Really minor issue around childcare siting update is included as a strategy. I know we've talked a little bit about this, and my own biases, I happen to believe this is super essential around the economic recovery and reemployment piece, probably more than it would be in, say, the neighborhoods and public life priority. But that's reasonable minds can disagree with that. I just wonder if we're being too confining when we talk about childcare siting, because we know there's a lot of things we're trying to do right now in childcare. I happen to think this is the really important barrier we've got to eliminate for thousands of our families that are struggling right now. And we know siting is just a piece of this. Should we be rethinking and reshaping this as simply being childcare as opposed to childcare siting?
Yeah, Mayor Angel Rios, Deputy City Manager. One of the reasons why we called it out separately is because one of the things that we witnessed over the course of the pandemic is the number of closures in very high-need neighborhoods. So this really became an issue of how do we ramp that back up and how do we tap into economies of scale. Most of the state money is coming through County Office of Education, many other pass-throughs. So for us, it's about how do we create more facilities that are licensable, right? And along with that, ensuring that along with access to licensed facilities, that we work with our partners, namely the County Office of Education and other pass-through entities, to make sure that we got fully subsidized slots for low-income families, right? So we wanted to call that out. We wanted to make sure that didn't get lost in the broader childcare effort.
I guess I didn't really ask the question very well, Angel. I agree with everything you just said. All those things are important, but a lot of those things don't have to do with siting. They just have to do with access, subsidies, licensing more providers, getting more childcare supply out there, right? So there's lots of things we're trying to do there. Is there a reason why we call it siting specifically?
Yeah, well, we think it does have something to do with siting because location becomes key, right? So we want to make sure that the childcare availability is located closest to those that need it, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to have to drive, halfway across town, then we know that's, kind of a dead on arrival issue.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really about locating it where the need is greatest.
Okay. Well, I think what I hear you saying is it's really about equitable access, which I completely support. The word siting to me just reflects sort of a focus on buildings and parcels, which I'm guessing is probably too confining. But anyway, I appreciate the point. Okay. Any other questions from my colleagues? Councilman Rice, you had your hand up. Is that from before? I believe it was. Okay.
Yes, it was. But I do have one additional question. Thank you for bringing this issue up about childcare. I think in general, the childcare item is under our Children and Youth Services Master Plan, which is in already as a program and project. And we are making sure to coordinate with the county in terms of efforts so that we don't duplicate or supplant anything. So I just wanted to give you that reassurance that we're working towards making sure that there is more childcare slots in this city and in this county. As you know, this is one of the issue areas that I've been fighting for even before the pandemic, but I know that Councilmember Carrasco talked about some of the benefits of a crisis in that we have to respond quickly. So I'm glad we're doing that. I'm glad that this is on our roadmap. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh,
Okay.
Just one more thing. Sorry, Mayor. I don't know where we landed. I know there was some really interesting conversation about how we are all going to look at core services as well as the performance goals and then the management of those performance strategies or goals and outcomes. Is there a next step to this conversation? Because I do think that the work for core services trickles through the committees, and I'd love to see our city service areas and our budget dollars performance goals come to committee before they're presented to all of us at council so that we can also contribute at a committee level. I think there's a lot of really great work that gets done at committee level. Is that something that we're planning on changing in our next cycle, or how are we going to deal with some of the feedback that's been provided today, Jennifer?
I think Dolan is going to start responding, and I'll add if needed.
Yeah, council member. So thanks. So there are several next steps. One is this afternoon we'll talk more about what's in that initiative, of which the discussion we've been having has kind of been centered around. And then the second is like all initiatives are assigned to a committee and they get updates at the committee. So this is one that would be assigned to a committee, and as we evolve the plan and the outcome and the impact and then start doing the work, that this would be brought to committee as part of a city roadmap update item.
Okay, wonderful. And I know that you talked about some adherence to some public administration standards, and wondered if you are going to integrate any further standards throughout the programs. I know and the reason I ask is that we are going through a Children and Youth Services Master Plan, and we've started with logic models and looking at theory of change, because it's important to figure out what the effective strategy that produces change within, the audience that we're thinking or serving. Is there any further standardization for programs and services?
Hi, council member. This is Dolan. I mean, I think the bottom line answer is yes. We actually would like to see more work on logic models and standardizations, and we'll be including that in the work moving forward.
Okay. Yeah. And do you have an idea of what that will be, what that kind of standardization will be? And the reason I ask this is because I don't want us to move forward with a master plan that's based on a logic model and theory of change if you are all going to do something slightly different.
I don't expect anything to be causing you to derail that. In fact, that may be some best practices that you're doing that we leverage. So I think the answer would be, we don't have the answer, but I would not stop doing what you're doing in that area.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I look forward to this next iteration of how we integrate our core service areas and our city roadmap and the flexibility that we've seen our city roadmap provide us to respond to our resident needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have a motion from Councilmember Perales. We should vote on that, and then we can move on to the rest of our agenda.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Perales,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
Carrasco,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Esparza,
Yes.
Arenas,
Yes.
Foley,
Aye.
Mahan,
Aye.
Jones, Licardo.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're on to backlogs. Speaking of backlogs, we're running a little behind, but no?
I think this time would be a good time to take a lunch break. Would that be true,
Well,
Dolan,
we
or
have
no?
about 17 minutes left. Would it make sense to have a presentation and then go to
Sure,
break?
I could.
Can
yeah.
you finish it in that time?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get to the point of taking the action, then we can determine if we want to move forward. to take
That's
the lunch
great.
break.
That's
Okay.
very good.
Let's do
Okay.
that.
All right. So once again, Dolan Beckel, Director of the Office of Civic Innovation, to introduce the concept of the backlog and facilitate creation of a new backlog for the 22-23 fiscal year. Please do not ruin your eyesight by trying to read the figure on the right. We're just introducing the look and feel of the backlog prioritization form that each council member will be using. Either here in chambers, there'll be a piece of paper that looks just like that, or if you're remote, we'll be emailing an electronic voting form for you to use as well. So the backlog is the pipeline of priority change initiatives and service transformations that are next in line to be worked if the administration sees the capacity to take on additional work above and beyond the roadmap that was just approved. So the goal of this exercise is to refine the initial backlog that we've published through adds and changes to the list and then prioritize it. The initial backlog presented here and presented in the City Roadmap Manager's Budget Addendum, or MBA, includes last year's council priority backlog initiatives, referrals from the Rules and Open Government Committee, and the Select Few Charter Review Commission and Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee recommendations that council directed be added to the backlog for consideration today. What we did not include was initiatives that received 0 votes during the council priority process last year, and any backlog initiatives that were completed during the year as capacity was found, and those were moved and completed. So we're going to now welcome council feedback on any adds or changes to the initial backlog. We ask council to consider some of the community survey priorities and the March budget message priorities when considering those adds or changes. And the following slide here better shows, from an eyesight perspective, the initial backlog for discussions of adds and changes. As we're having this discussion, staff will keep track of the adds and changes. And then I think at this point, either during the lunch break or probably more after, as we continue forward with a different presentation section, assuming we take a lunch break after we introduce the concept of this, when we come back, we'll ask council to entertain adds or changes to the backlog, and then we'll prioritize that backlog when we move on to the performance measures discussions, and then we'll come back after that for the grand reveal of the prioritized backlog and the adds and changes to that. So that's what we would be doing next, is entertaining any changes to the backlog presented here. And the question is this a good time for lunch, or do we want to begin to entertain any adds or changes from the council?
First, I think maybe we'll put on the basic council discussion for after lunch, just maybe for clarification in case people have questions about the process, we can get those hammered out. But I just want to make sure everyone's clear, particularly in the public. You'll notice that the numbers do not go sequentially from 1, they go from 1 to 3 to 4 to 6. Obviously, there are numbers being skipped. And Dolan, perhaps you can explain this is not the result of bad math.
Correct. This is not the result of bad math. So on the left-hand side, the column that's in light purple, which says 21-22 council priority backlog initiatives, these are the remaining initiatives from last year's backlog, and the number represents the voting rank as council voted 1 vote per initiative up to 10 votes, and then they were stack ranked. So for example, wage theft, which was on there, was number 2, made it to the roadmap the council just approved. boost San Jose's retail sector was voted the highest last year. Of the remaining work, anti-displacement preference ordinance was second, and so on. So that's a stack rank order from 1 to 29 of the way council voted total votes last year. The most number of votes being boost San Jose's retail sector, and the least number of votes being update Ellis Act ordinance. On the right-hand side, they're just simply categorized by an acronym for the source or the channel they came from. For example, referrals from rules or RR, just RR1 and 2 are just identifiers to make it easier than having to say it each time. They have nothing to do with prioritization. They're just identifying the items that council directed us to bring to this meeting today, to this study session for prioritization. So the CRCs and the RIPS and the YC, similarly, those numbers and those CRC 12 does not represent anything about priority. It just represents as a charter review committee, et cetera. And you can see the acronyms explained there, RR, CRC, RIPS, and YC in the lower right-hand side as to what they actually channel they came from for consideration today.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And finally, the most important question I know for every council member, which is how many votes we get?
We're being consistent with last year. We're happy to iterate to improve, but what we did last year and we're suggesting this year is each council member gets a total of 10 votes, and they can cast up to 1 vote for each of those, for each initiative.
Okay, so this is not Chicago. We only get a vote once for each item.
Having come from Chicago and seeing how that works, no, you get 1 vote per initiative maximum and a total number of 10 votes. If you vote, and we've thought this through because it actually happened last year, if you vote more than 10 votes, we will take the 10 votes, the first 10 votes only from top to bottom. And we will leave off the 11th and 12th vote that was cast last year and only count the first 10.
Okay, we encourage, my colleagues should be encouraged to self-regulate on this, but apparently there'll be regulation if we can't count appropriately. Councilmember Cohen, you have other questions for clarification?
I just have a couple, just a question on this. There's things on this list that some of them seem to fit already into some of the things that are happening in departments, for example, that may be part of the, the ways that they come forward with addressing it. And so they may not necessarily need to be put onto this change initiative roadmap. They may already be addressed, or from your perspective, have you screened out things that
Yes,
wouldn't
we
be
did.
done?
Yeah, Councilmember Cohen, I think that's a great question to clarify. We screened out going through each enterprise priority with the executive sponsor, the deputy city managers, and the initiative leads. We screened out anything that was in any way, shape, or form substantially started or underway. So, for example, in police reforms, there was add police staffing was one of the backlog initiatives that was part of the March budget message. And so Chief Mata and Lee agreed that would be taken off. So if you have questions about why these aren't work in progress, then we would ask the initiative leads to come down and answer that question for you.
So we should probably do those questions later as we discuss all of these items, and because there's some that I see and I think that they might already be part of something or could end up in part of something without being on here. But
yeah, we'd want to take those as questions because the initial screening left these on here as not in progress in any core service or any initiative.
Why don't I suggest this? Maybe it would be a good idea offline over the lunch break if you had some of those items in mind. Let staff know what they are and they can mull it over a bit, and we can raise those specific items one by one in the afternoon.
Yeah, and Mayor, I think one other thing that we did, and I realize you don't have it, which is probably why the question is being asked, is we have descriptions. We have the council descriptions of each one of those that we can hand out now and email to the remote council members that describe, as best as the council was able to describe during the sourcing of that, describe the initiative in more detail. So this is kind of a identifier description, such as private percentage for arts. There's a several sentence description in a handout that we can hand out now and we can email as well.
That'd be great.
It was
Thank you.
also in the MBA, but it probably needs to be refreshed.
Thank you. Okay. Other questions for clarification? I don't see hands, so I was going to go to public comment before we conclude.
Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Yeah. And the previous that we're doing be key in planning to develop a core set of services. It was mentioned by Councilperson Esparza and Councilperson Arenas, who I think asked really. Thank you. To ask for a set of core services based on racial equity, agreements, and understand, negotiate around. That's that we can always count on about each other and what to expect of ourselves. So it's that kind of organizational skill. I think it's important to respect time. So thanks a lot for your work today and questions being asked, and good time.
Back to the council.
Thank you. We'll take a break then and resume at 1:30. Thanks, everybody.